Welcome everybody to tonight's meetings. We're going to start with a public hearing. This is has to do with an ordinance that will amend Chapter 17 of the zoning code. And since this is an ordinance, we are having a public hearing, and we will discuss it during the council meeting later on, but we will not act on it because we always have what we call two readings. So we'll be looking at accepting this, if everybody's okay with this, at our next council meeting, which I think is October 7th. So I'll call this meeting to order. In attendance, we have Colin Dykstra, Eric Helverson, Dimitri Martin, Eric Olson, Dave Peterson, Scott Prochaski, Henry Veliker, and Mayor Brian Smith. We do have also councilperson Paul Hagan is attending remotely. So the two that are not here tonight are Paul Mayo and Corey Nagel. We do have a quorum, although we don't need one for the public hearing. We do have one. Purpose of the hearing tonight, Juliana, you want to just explain this to us?
Yes. This ordinance is to amend the city's comprehensive plan future land use map, which has three separate amendments as part of it that touch upon several parcels within the city limits. The first, which relates to the property at 660 Hillcrest Drive from neighborhood mixed use to community mixed use, is related to a proposed project to put in a auto zone at that address and at an adjacent parcel. This will align the comprehensive plan with the proposed use as well as the adjacent parcel, which is to be merged and zoned appropriately as part of a submitted comprehensive survey map. Yes. For the next two parcels, this relates to the expansion to the rec center. It will make sure that both of those are appropriately classified as civic institutional, and that will allow for the merging of those two parcels as well. Finally, the last three parcels are for properties that are south of Highway 10 and east of County Highway A. This is based on the recommendation from the feasibility study that was commissioned by the city earlier this year that recommended to designate the properties in that area within the city limits for industrial use.
Okay. Thanks, Juliana. All right, at this time, it is a public hearing. We will take testimony in favor of these ordinance changes. If you'd like to speak, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, and limit your time at the podium to 3 minutes or less. Anybody that would like to give testimony in favor of? Any testimony in favor? Hearing none, we'll do testimony in opposition. Is there testimony in opposition to any of these changes to the ordinance? Any opposition? Hearing none, I'll declare this public hearing closed at 6:04 p.m. Let's go right to the regular agenda then. I'll call the regular agenda for September 16th, 2025 to order. It is 6:05 p.m. And as always, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and as we go through the meeting here, let's have Barb read the clerk's open meeting statement for us.
This meeting and all meetings of the Common Council are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin state statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting.
And Barb, you want to also take roll call, please?
Mayor Smith?
Here.
Colin Dykstra?
Here.
Paul Hagan?
Here.
Eric Helverson?
Here. Perfect.
Dimitri Martin?
Here.
Paul Mayo? Corey Nagel? Eric Olson,
Here.
Dave Peterson,
Here.
Scott Perchatsky,
Here.
Henry Veliker.
Here.
8 present, we have a quorum.
And Barb, you want to start the introduction of the staff for us tonight that are in attendance?
Barb Nowak, City Clerk.
Josh Finch, City Administrator.
Eric Bailey, Library Director.
Juliana Stowe, Community and Economic Development Director.
Stephanie Reif, Finance Director.
Justin Behrens, Director of Public Works.
Laura Colbert, Parks and Rec Director.
Pete Krager, Chief of Police.
Thank you. The first item on here is actually the consent agenda. This has got a number of items on there. We take one motion to approve this agenda, this consent agenda, unless you see something on there that you would like moved to the regular agenda. If we don't see anything we want to move, then we would need a motion to approve the consent agenda as printed.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Dykstra, that we approve the consent agenda as printed. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Next up is the regular agenda. Again, this is just a formality. We would need a motion to approve the regular agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Olson, that we approve the regular agenda as printed. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Under non-agenda items, we have announcements and correspondence. We have, first of all, we have public input. This is for a non-agenda item. If there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak to council and staff on an item that's not on our agenda tonight, please step up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, limit your time to 3 minutes or less.
Brian Carpenter, 310 Oak Street. I'm here tonight to ask that the ordinance on sheds be changed to anything under 100 square feet. I don't believe we should need a permit. And also tent sheds, I believe we should be able to have in town or in the city.
Yeah, can you just repeat yourself and speak a little louder for me?
Okay. Yeah, I'm just here to ask that the ordinance on sheds or anything under 100 square feet be changed to not needing a permit, and also tent sheds, the canvas type, that we be able to have those in the city limits. And that's what I'm here to ask for today. And I've spoke with a lot of my neighbors and a lot of the other people around town in person and in Facebook. And a lot of people tell me, don't even bother going in, that you guys are not gonna work with anybody, which I hate to believe that. I think Waupaca is a beautiful city. I just moved here a little over a year ago with my family of 7. And all we're asking is a little leeway on these type of things. And I think that would help go a long ways in this city.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, Brian, thank you. We will discuss it at the staff level, and if they need any more information from you, they'll get back to you.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight. Any other public input? Yes, ma'am.
I am Cindy Chitwood, and I am the market manager for the Waupaca Farmers Market. And W10226 Gilwin Lane in Hortonville. And we had an event at the market last weekend, and the vendors, the beer vendors, had put mothballs in the trays underneath the spigots. And mothballs are a regulated pesticide by the EPA. And when they are exposed to sunlight, it increases the level of degradation. And so with the tent being present, it filled up the top of the tent, and we were starting to have complaints of a couple of people had headaches, there was some raspy throats, some coughing, and so I did call the police department, and so they came out with the fire department, and they cleared out the tent with fans. But my concern is, with these events, I want to know that there is some monitoring, that they aren't going to be allowed to do that again, because it is a hazard. The one beer truck was picked up, and they dumped the mothballs on the pavement. Now that runs into the storm sewer, which runs into the river. And this is a toxic chemical, and it is regulated, and that is an off-label use, so it should not have been used. I just want to make sure it isn't that somebody is monitoring so that those events can be safe.
Thank you, Cindy, for your comments. I just learned of this today also, that that was an issue, and to tell you the truth, that's something new to me, that you would use mothballs to, keep the beer.
Me too. Do you have any questions for me?
No, we've had some pretty good discussion at our level.
Okay.
We just need to, as much as we try to monitor things and make sure that we're covering everything, this is one that we obviously missed. And so we'll make sure we add it to our list for future. I'm glad that nobody really got seriously injured, and I appreciate you bringing it forward for us to hear tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else that would like to give us public input?
Mayor?
Yeah, Henry, go ahead.
I guess I'd like to thank the police department. I know you moved the speed limit sign around the town, and I want to appreciate the movement on South Main Street because I think it is having an impact. Living a couple houses up from the intersection of South Park, we have a lot of Mario Andretti's that seem to gun it when they come around. And I think it's having an effect, and I think the timing with school starting was really good. And I think it's the police department that monitors that board and puts it around, and you keep the data on it. So I'm interested when you report out on that, kind of how it is. But I have seen a positive impact from it. Thanks.
Our young Boy Scouts here maybe didn't know who Mario Andretti was, so you might want to catch up with the new names now, yeah.
Well, I just kind of put my age out there, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, how about, I don't know, give me another guy.
Alex Palou.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other public input, non-agenda items? All right, we have community department head reports on page 90 or on page 87 through 89. That's Jake Waller, our fire chief's report, is in there for your reading. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak to us on a community event that's going on? We have a pretty long meeting tonight, so we're going to actually skip. This is for council people. We're actually going to skip the department head reports for tonight because we do have a number of items that we have to get through tonight. So we're going to move forward. All right, under unfinished business, this is ordinance number 04-2025. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 17 of the City of Waupaca zoning ordinance, and this is the second reading of this. So, Juliana, do you want to just recap what that ordinance is, and if you've gotten anybody that's come forward?
Yes. This is the second reading for this ordinance amendment, which is removing county penal institutions as a listed use in our ordinances as we work to remove language that is overly specific and streamline the wording in our ordinances. We have not received any additional public feedback since the first reading at the last council meeting.
Thanks, Juliana. Anybody have any questions on that? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve this ordinance change.
Move to approve.
Motion by Martin.
Second.
Second by Olson that we approve ordinance number 04-2025. Any further discussion? Barb will call the roll.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Eric Halverson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next up, then we have ordinance number 11-2025. This is ordinance repealing and recreating section 12.26 of weights and measures program fees. This is also the second reading. Barb, you want to just touch on what this is?
Sure. My memo can be found on page 93, and this is the second reading, as the mayor said. So this is just asking for the number 15 on the fee schedule, the petroleum pumps, to be changed from $30 per pump to $40 per pump per the Appleton, the City of Appleton Health Department, who manages the invoices. And I haven't heard anything since the last council on this either.
All right, anybody have any questions? How about a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Dykstra, that we approve ordinance number 11-2025. This is an ordinance repealing and recreating section 12.26 of the weights and measures programs fees. Barb will call the roll.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Eric Helverson,
Aye.
Colin Dykstra.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, going along with that, then, under new business, we have a contract renewal for weights and measures services between the City of Waupaca and City of Appleton. Barb, you want to just, again, talk about that contract?
Sure. So the contract can be found on page 98 of the packet, and it just as the one-year renewal, we did sign the contract last year, and then every year they ask that we re-sign it, stating that their days are the same and their per day amount is the same, and that they'll be doing the invoicing at their office there. So I'm just asking for approval of the agreement.
All right, thanks. Anybody have any questions? If not, again, we'd be looking for a motion to approve this contract.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Martin, that we approve of the contract renewal for weights and measures services between the City of Waupaca and the City of Appleton. Barb will call the roll.
Colin Dykstra,
Aye.
Paul Hagan,
Aye.
Henry Veliker,
Aye.
Eric Olson,
Aye.
Dave Peterson,
Aye.
Dimitri Martin,
Aye.
Scott Perchatsky,
Aye.
Eric Helverson.
Aye.
8 ayes, motion carried.
All right, next, under new business still, license report number 1736. This is a Class B intoxicating liquor and Class B fermented malt beverage license for Royal One Hospitality LLC. It's for the Reflections Bar and Grill, which is on Grand Seasons Drive, part of the hotel out there. And this is not a new license. This is just a change of agent request here. So pretty straightforward. We would be looking for a motion to approve.
Move to approve license report number 1736.
Second.
Motion by Veliker, second by Peterson, that we approve of license report number 1736. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Okay, next is financial management plan that's going to be presented by by Baird. Stephanie, you want to set this up, please?
Sure. So we have Justin Fisher and Adam Reichel here from Baird, who are our financial advisors, and they were here going to give their presentation.
All right. Well, thank you, Stephanie. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Alder. It's great to be here. So I'm Adam Rico with Baird, and we've got Justin Fisher as well, who have been here multiple times. So what we have in front of you tonight is kind of the first version of what is considered the 2025 financial management plan for the city of Waupaca. The purpose really behind this document is one of the things that we have been noticing, and I think as Administrator Josh and everybody else, is that your rating agencies are now really almost not necessarily requiring, but it is a constant ask when we have the rating calls, when you're going out and potentially looking at things where they want a comprehensive document that essentially puts all of your things together. So that is really one of the kind of reasons for doing this and kind of updating it on a yearly basis. It also gives you the ability to kind of see various things that are going on between not only the general fund, but then property taxes, as well as your TIFs, and then also any of your utilities. So that really is kind of the goal behind this. Again, we're going to go really high level over this, knowing that you have obviously a lot of stuff on your agenda tonight. But obviously there'll be an opportunity for you to kind of dive further into this. And then if there are kind of questions or things that you would like to see, certainly you can have conversations with the administrator, obviously the finance director. They'll get a hold of us. But really this is supposed to be kind of an ever-flowing document and potentially can be changed kind of how you see fit. So really the first area we'll kind of go to into starting on page 5. So on page 5 here, what you'll see is the first thing we talk about really is your municipal debt. So what we have is there's obviously general obligation debt, and then there is revenue debt. So what we show you then are the debt structures essentially that can occur based on revenue bonds. They can go up to 40 years, and then your general obligation bonds can go up to 20, whether it's a bond or a promissory note, and then kind of your bond note anticipation notes kind of go up to 5 years. So then starting on page 6, what we do then is essentially pull together all of your general obligation debt and kind of show you the principal and interest payments the year that it was taken out. And this is current debt that is still on the books that essentially needs to be paid. And what that really does then on page 9 is kind of sums everything up. So you then can see on page 9 your general obligation side that shows your total existing debt, geo debt, and then if there are any other funds that potentially are providing support for that. So you can see we have some TID revenue that potentially is going to be paying for principal and interest payments. And what you get then is essentially your net tax supported geo debt service levy. So that's just kind of what goes on there. On page 10 then, we kind of get into kind of more of the rating information. So this is the rating section really of your financial management plan. So what this shows are kind of all the factors that go into when you're going out into the market to either take on bonds, whether it be, as we talked about, geo or revenue. This is what we're looking at, kind of debt and pension, financing, kind of your economy and tax base, and then obviously the management of your staff. What policies do you have? What's kind of been your operating history? What we then look at on page 11 is kind of overall then what are some of the ratings that particularly Wisconsin is getting. So we show you kind of the Moody's long-term ratings, the Standard & Poor's long-term ratings, and then specifically for Wisconsin, how many are rated for Standard & Poor's. So you can see kind of AAA being the top, and then obviously BB plus and below is kind of the worst, potential rating that you could get.
One quick thing on that.
Yeah.
Not every municipality has a bond credit rating. It doesn't make economic sense to get a bond credit rating if you're going to be, say, at that A level or below. Because the better bond credit rating you have, the lower the interest rates you're going to receive. But it does cost something to get that bond credit rating every time. So the city has the AA minus category. So you can see that you're kind of in that upper echelon of municipalities that it makes sense to go through the process because when we did our internal credit models, we were looking at this a number of years ago. We kind of saw that your financials looked strong enough where it made economic sense to do this.
Yeah, and then perfect segue, Justin. It's almost like you planned that. Good work. Going into the next one here, then, what we do then is pull your most recent rating report. So as Justin just alluded to, Basically in 2025, around February, you got the AA minus, and what this is this is directly from the report showing you kind of the reason or what the basis was that Standard & Poor's essentially said, here's why we believe you're kind of hitting that. You can see here there's kind of different categories that you look at on page 12 and 13. And so then what we do on page 14 is talk about specifically how Standard & Poor's kind of comes up with their rating scale, and they have done some changes. So as of September 9th of 2024, they have some new criteria that they use in order to kind of benchmark where they put municipalities, so we provided that information. On page 15, I know this is really hard to read, but this is just what Justin alluded to, is this is the internal scorecard that we essentially use to try to determine, okay, are there things particularly that could be done that essentially would get you a higher rating, or are there things that you need to be aware of that potentially could get you a lower rating? I guess I'll pitch it to you because this is your area of expertise. So.
Yeah, I mean, from the financial perspective, you're doing everything the right way. Things are great on that end. The only way you're going to really get into that next category up is really in that economy, that first section, which is essentially out of your control. Thinking median family income, around surrounding area, that type of stuff is what they're looking at, and unless that gets raised substantially, you're at pretty much the best level, because your fund balance, you can always increase that to a percent that's abnormally high. You're talking 75% of your general fund to get that notch up. But does that make sense for you to have such a high fund balance versus using it for other things? So again, you're kind of at that highest point from a financial perspective, and the other things are under your control.
On page 16 then, what we do then is try to give you a rating comparison of some of your peers. And again, as we continue to update this from year to year, if there are particular municipalities you would rather be benchmarked against, we certainly can do that. But what we do then is pull all of these municipalities' kind of most up-to-date official statements. So we look to see when was the last time they went out for either a bond or a revenue bond or something along those lines. And then we look at it. What are their ratings? What particularly is the equalized value? So you can kind of see everything that's kind of occurring here based on the most up-to-date information. So that's why you're seeing here it's 2024. The next thing then that we do is then start to look at your equalized value kind of history. So on page 17, we kind of graph this out for you. So we pull basically the last 20 years of equalized value and try to come up with, okay, what is essentially an average that the municipality has seen for equalized value growth. So you can see here over the 20 years, when we average it out, you're averaging about 3.38% in equalized value growth kind of year over year. Obviously, there's some that are down, others that are up, but overall, we then try to average it out. So what we do with that then on page 18 is then look at, okay, well, thinking out the next 20 years, if we kind of average and use that 3.38%, what does that mean? So in 2025, the equalized value is $699,958,600. And essentially then, if we continue at that 3.38% trend, in 2045, you'd be over about $1.3 billion. So that's just something we kind of continue to monitor.
Is that,
yeah.
Adam, can I ask real quick? So that 2025 equalized value, is that something that just came out, or is, yeah?
Yes, so that information just came out in August. So that's why you can see with the official statements, we try to be a year before because we keep everybody benchmarked, but then we give you the most up-to-date information if we have it.
Okay.
So then on page 19 here, we kind of get into the first kind of financial planning, kind of modeling that we can think about into the future. So what this kind of really is focusing on is your operational budget projection. So it's looking at really kind of two key areas. One, how are you doing year over year when you're talking about your revenues and expenditures? And two, that fund balance that you have, what potentially is happening to that? So this is where, and right now we have this model, basically, you can see in kind of the gray section here on the left, that's your historical data. So we pull that directly from your audits that you have. Then starting from 2025 and then kind of going on in the blue section here, these are the budget years or projections. So what we're doing with that is using your 2025 budget, and then right now very modestly projecting kind of a 1% increase for revenues and a 1% increase for expenditures. If that's something you want us to tweak in the future, where you're trying to want to model that differently, we certainly can do that. But what this is just kind of showing you is a baseline. The other thing that this allows you to do into the future is kind of one-offs with projections where if you know potentially there's going to be staff changes, if you also know that potentially there's going to be, TIF closures or things like that that could impact whether or not you're getting additional revenue, or as we all hope that you continue to get more shared revenue. That would be great for everybody. We can kind of model that in and see how that does. But what this really is trying to show is then at the end of the bottom line here, we project out what your general fund balance percentage is. And the reason we're doing that is because that is one of the keys that goes back to that scorecard in the rating agencies, is that most rating agencies now want to see that, you are supposed to be about 25 to 45% is what they want to see you have as far as a fund balance. So that's 25 to 45% of your general fund expenditures. They want you to have somewhere in a fund, rainy day fund, where if something happens that you have to be able to tap into that, you have those funds and can still function. We have seen within the last couple of years that really 25% is not what they want. They want you to be 35 to 40% or even higher. That's what's helping you to either have a higher bond rating. So what this allows us to do is continually kind of project into the future decisions that if you make as a city, what can that potentially do to that bottom line of that fund balance? Because we want to continue to monitor that to make sure that you're not dipping below that 35%.
Yeah, and I would say that, they talk about that higher percentage. A lot of it was COVID-driven, because during COVID, non-Wisconsin municipalities ran into a lot of trouble and dipped into the fund balance, strong fund balances were in some trouble. Fortunately, Wisconsin municipalities are pretty well managed, where it didn't have as big of an impact on the municipalities. They do kind of look at things on a national basis as well, and that's where we see they want a little bit stronger fund balance, just because what could happen in the future. That's anyone's.
We can't hear you online.
Yeah, so Justin, I was going to ask you, can you use a microphone, because we're live on.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
That's fine. Let me ask you just a quick question here. I mean, it seems fairly obvious, but I want to make sure. So, I mean, you're saying it's kind of a wide between 25 and 45 is what they're recommending. So if you're at 25, they don't look at you as well as they would look at you if you were at 45? Is that accurate?
That's accurate to a point. I mean, it also depends on the size of your community. If you're a smaller community, that's where they're going to typically want to see the higher 40-ish%, because that can get drained much faster than a larger community at 25%.
Okay.
All right. So then on page 20, what we get into then is kind of your long-term capital financing plan and thinking of future kind of projects that could occur. So what we do here is talk again about kind of the importance of long-range capital planning, what that means. And then on page 21, we kind of get into a little bit more of the nut and bolts then of specifically you as the city of Waupaca. So historically, you've kind of been at about $2 million is what you have tried to cover for kind of 2 fiscal years of capital projects. So what we did is kind of threw in here, what we saw were the 2025 and kind of 2026 particular CIP projects. You can see that kind of run from the airport all the way to kind of technology items that are in there. And so what we do then with that is Justin, obviously, and I work with the rest of our team, and we model out then on 22 kind of what that looks like for long-term planning as far as debt. So we look at obviously layering in, looking at your existing kind of net debt on the left here, and then we go all the way across looking at kind of how you fund then those 2 years of CIP projects and what that means then for essentially your combined debt service. And then also then layering in long-term, thinking, okay, every 2 years, if you're doing this, what potentially does that mean to that kind of debt service levy and rate? And that kind of allows you to look at projects. And then also in the future, if there are any other large-scale projects that potentially could be taken on, for instance, if you ever need to make updates, obviously, to City Hall, any of your other buildings, those are things that can all kind of be modeled in here. And then what that goes to really is page 23, which then looks at your overall debt capacity. And I know you're the expert on this one, so I will pitch it to you.
Yeah, and so the city, as many of you are aware, has a policy not to exceed 3.75% of your allowed 5% equalized valuation. We had in the past run into it coming close, especially when we were looking at the public works facility, trying to stay at that policy or have a little cushion with that. Fortunately, over the last several years, though, the city has seen some good development, some good growth, and the value has increased to a point where we're in a position where we've got some some good capacity remaining, and that's really shown in those gray bars there on this bar chart. And this is something that I've shown you guys, over the years when we're looking at the financing and how this impacts your general obligation capacity. So kind of going forward, you can see that we're in a healthier position than where we were projecting a handful of years ago. So that's a good picture to show you.
Okay, then on page 24, what this kind of just shows, again, I know this is really hard to read, but really what this is really showing you is some of the work that really the finance team and the administrator kind of working with us do to monitor the entire picture. So looking overall at your debt service fund and kind of projecting those impacts of, okay, when you're taking on new projects, when you're doing building projects and everything else, how do we basically take all of these, individual items and really come up with a concrete plan then that can be modeled into future impacts and projections, which then really helps build the next area, which starts on 26, which is the modeling then of kind of your property tax impacts. And so what this does is gives you two options here, one showing you the assessed value and then obviously the equalized, and kind of showing you, okay, when you take on new projects or potentially, in the future when you're going to have TIDs that close or if there are initiatives that are occurring, what possibly can that do to obviously the assessed rate and then also the equalized. So really what this allows us to do is kind of taking everything we've been talking about already in the plan, we dump this in here and allows us to do some modeling based on looking at, okay, what's been your equalized value average? That 3% that we talked about, we have that modeled in. We then have some modest kind of 1% increases in other areas. The other thing that this allows you to do on the assessed value side is also look at particularly when potentially you might have to consider, having a reevaluation done. And how that obviously is then going to impact, particular rates. So that's where we kind of continue to model out that percentage. As you know, when you start to drop below 90%, you start to get those letters from the Department of Revenue saying, when are you going to do a reevaluation? So this kind of allows you to continue to kind of model those out and kind of plan all that for future years. On page 27, then, we start to get into your tax increment financing districts. The team, and we've been working obviously with them for a couple of years, they do a really great job of kind of putting this all together into a presentation that goes in front of the Joint Review Board. But what this allows you to do is, and again, you have one document then that allows you to look at your districts. So you can see every single one, we kind of do the same thing. We do, TID district number 4, 8, 10, 11, and 12. And what we do is kind of talk about, okay, what's going on there. So on 29, as you can kind of see here, to just kind of summarize everything up, what we do on the bottom there is show you where are you currently in regards to your equalized value test. One of the things that is great is your TIFs are doing very well. There are some that have seen, large increases. What that also has done is now this is the first year you have kind of gone above that 12% equalized value test. So these are conversations that we continue to work with the team on in monitoring and going, okay, if there is potentially a project that is coming in, what are some options, or do we have things that we're kind of planning for if we do need to either get below that 12% or potentially, what are some other avenues that we can take? And we have options and alternatives that you can do. So we obviously know that. So these are things that we continue to monitor and kind of look at as well. So then again, every single district kind of has a summary page. So you can see here, we'll just do TID 4. And then obviously, if you want to look at the other ones, you can do that. But on page 31 here, we give you kind of the summary of what's going on in TID number 4. So we provide you with the information of when it was created, currently where it's kind of being assessed at versus also your equalized, and then kind of showing some of the ones that are kind of going on here. As we know, TID number 4 is one of the big donor districts to TID number 8 to help get that district where it needs to go. So then on page 32, what we do then is essentially every single one of your districts, we work obviously with the team on continuing to model out performance and looking at potentially changes that could occur throughout the year. If there's other projects that might be coming in that might increase the revenue, obviously if there's our expenditures that need to be taken on or considered that are new, we can model those in. And then the other thing we can also start projecting out is if eventually when you want to close this district, do you want to go through the process of essentially going through the 1-year extension for affordable housing? So we do have some information in here kind of about that. So I want to talk briefly about that before we kind of go forward. So if we want to move to page 41, we can kind of walk you through quickly what this means for affordable housing. So with your tax increment financing districts, when they get to the point where essentially they have paid off all of their project costs, you can have a conversation, and it's twofold. One is either you're just going to close that district because you want to get it back onto the tax roll. The other one, which is becoming more and more popular and is being done by a lot of municipalities, is essentially extending your district for 1 year. So what you can do is this is a resolution that essentially is passed by the Common Council, where you are essentially going to extend your TIF district for 1 year and then capture that increment, and that then goes into a separate fund that you can use for affordable housing. And you can do that with every single one of your districts if you want to, or if not. That totally is a decision. Obviously, we'll work to kind of give you the pros and cons. But essentially what happens with that is when you pass this resolution, what happens is that increment then goes into a special revenue fund, and you have two options for it. 25% of it you can use towards any type of housing that you want to try to improve housing. 75% of that money has to be used for what is considered affordable housing. Now, as of right now, there is a wide range of definitions of what is considered affordable housing. Our assumption is, because this is becoming more popular, is there is soon going to be not necessarily restrictions, but more guidance from the Department of Revenue on particularly what you can use it for. So just to give you some examples, when I was the city manager in Platteville, we did this where we closed one of our districts, we created an affordable housing fund, and essentially Platteville is a very old mining town. We had a lot of homes that essentially were created before 1950. So we were able to utilize that money to essentially create grant programs that were able then to have individuals who owned homes, they essentially could pay for improvements, submit those into the city, and then if the city deemed them eligible based on some criteria, they essentially we would use our fund to do that. Other municipalities do it where they will use that money to essentially entice development to, cover a gap. So if you're seeing a particular type of housing that you need for affordability, whether that would be senior living, townhousing, whatever, there's a gap, you can use it for that. You can also use it for land purchases, infrastructure improvement. So again, there's a long kind of opportunity zone of what potentially you could use this for. So what we did then on page 42 is just kind of give you a roadmap of possibilities with your TIDs, of when you would want to consider or possibly looking at having those affordable housing extension conversations. So you can kind of see here, we start with 10, then we talk to you about 4 and 8, then potentially there's when 11 and 12, those kind of things would occur, and we kind of walk you through that timeline. So again, if you want to get more detail on that, we can obviously have separate conversations about that, but that's kind of what that kind of shows. You want to add?
So, Adam, let me make sure I understand. So, like for 10 now, we're not able to expend any money on any new projects, but once we get to that last year, there's different rules.
Yeah, so essentially what happens is once your TID, so like TID 10, for example, if it gets to the point where it essentially, you have enough fund balance to cover any remaining costs, or let's say you don't have any costs, and it's before you could technically close it, you got two options. Either you can close it, or you can extend it for 1 year, and when you extend it, that 1 year then that you capture for the tax increment, you get to keep all that and it goes into a special revenue fund.
And that, when you say that that money could be used for housing, that's throughout the whole city limits?
Yes, so that is the entire city. So that is not just the TIF district anymore. It now opens you up to, you can do that anywhere that is within the municipal boundary. Okay. So that's the big benefit of why people are doing it.
Yeah.
All right, so then on 43, we start to get into the utility side of things. So we start first with the water utility debt schedule. And so we provide all of the different revenue bonds that are out there for that. And then on 44, we do the same thing again. We provide you kind of the summary then showing you the total existing water revenue debt. And on 45 is when we get into the coverage analysis. So what this really is showing you is a couple of things. One, we want to make sure that we have data. So we've got your audited financials kind of for 5 years, and then we have some projections. So what we're really looking for in kind of the projection side here on the left is, are you maintaining essentially the coverage ratio requirements that you have from the rating agencies, but then also the revenue bonds that you took out? So really what this coverage ratio is showing is we want to make sure that you continue to be above a 1.10 annual debt service coverage. So when we kind of play all this out and look at the operating revenues and the operating expenses, we then get to kind of a revenue covenant test, which shows us that as of right now, in all of the future years from kind of 2025, and then using some modest 1% increases in projections, we're showing the coverage ratio, you're above a 2. So what this kind of helps you dictate is, as we continue to update this and look at this, is potentially if we start to see that going in the wrong direction where you're getting closer to that 1.10, then that can start some conversations of when you might need to have some discussions about obviously looking at a rate increase or potentially some other kind of revenues and operational expenses there to try to get that back. So this is a nice kind of reminder and kind of look of continuing to see, like, okay, at what point do we need to start having some conversations about that? On that. Perfect. All right, so then we go to the sewer side of things and we do the same thing. So we provide you then obviously with all of the revenue, debt, service payments that are out there, with all of the issues that have been undertaken. And then on 49, we kind of sum everything up again, showing you the total existing debt service, kind of principal, interest, and costs. And then essentially on page 50, we do the same kind of coverage analysis with this one. Obviously, with the sewer, because that's not regulated by the PSC, you have a little bit more leeway here for coverage. So when you see, we do the same kind of modeling to get you that 1.10. So right now we are showing, into the projections that, in 2025, we're estimating about 2. It then does start to drop a little bit and goes to about 1.46. But again, you are still above that 1.10. So you're meeting those coverage ratio tests. But as we continue to monitor this, again, this is the tool that'll kind of help you look at what point do you need to have some conversations if that continues to dip down, where potentially you may have to look at, increasing sewer rates or looking at some of those operational or maintenance costs.
Adam, and that's assuming, I'm just talking sewer right now, that there are no sewer rate increases?
Yes, so that's one of the things, if you're going through that, we can certainly model that into the future. In version 1, we always just try to keep it very basic so you can kind of see how it flows. But if you're potentially going to have a rate increase in either 2027 or into the future, we'll model that in so we can see how that plays out. Yeah, because we just have a 1% increase in there right now just to kind of give you the baseline. So then the last thing we do in your financial management plan here on page 51 is kind of talk about whatever policies and observations that you have. So essentially we talk about your fund balance policy that we talked about here. In relations to that, we talk about your investment management policy. You have one that was developed in 2015, your debt management policy that was developed in 2014. And this is, again, a nice kind of quick reminder when we're doing rating agency calls. They always ask about this, so we can reference this right on the page. But again, you have strong management policies in place. And again, you should continue to kind of review those on an ongoing basis to see if you want to make any changes to those. So that's your first version.
Nice. Any comments or questions? Anybody? Henry, go ahead.
I think this is germane. The state of Wisconsin has this new program. It's a couple years old. It's the Innovation Grant Program or something.
Henry, pull your microphone.
Where they're encouraging collaboration and that kind of thing. Dealing with your municipal clients, have you run into any situations where they've accessed that money, and what does that kind of look like? Because if it impacts budgets and stuff in the future, are you seeing much usage of that fund, I guess? Is maybe
so I would say there was a big push, and then in about, I'm going to say April, I don't want to say died, but it kind of stalled. So I think there was a lot of upfront interest in looking at how you can consolidate with municipalities. But then I think when they found out kind of that, part of it, I think, was the halt that occurred with the federal side of things, where people didn't know whether or not there was going to be certain agencies or not. So I think that caused a big pause. But generally, my understanding is what that is for is looking at more the consolidation side of things. So it certainly is a possibility that it could benefit the city if you were looking to take on smaller municipalities and some type of a consolidation effort. And if that was the case, yeah, we can certainly model in like what that would do for, future revenue initiatives or things like that. But a lot of it was supposed to be funding to kind of start the planning for that, and then it stopped. So that's,
thank you.
I'm going to say it's still going, but it's not going at, I think, the pace they had hoped.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So through this whole thing, you guys have obviously looked at it pretty thoroughly. Do you ever look at it and say, maybe we should be doing something different?
Yes, so certainly when, if we saw that, particularly with your water and sewer, one of the things I would say is just looking at the way the coverage ratio is for the sewer, we might want to have some conversations, or that would be one of the things we would talk to you about is, are you looking at potentially doing a rate increase there? Just because currently it's showing that in the next 4 years you would be above, but it's dropping. It's not going in a different direction. So that would be one we would kind of look at. The general fund, as we kind of talked about, when we look at kind of the next 2 years of projects, we're going to kind of continue to monitor that. We're going to be working with the staff and kind of asking about, now that this has been created, are there one-off projections that you want us to run where you want to see, we did some very kind of basic ones just to get the process going and the thought process, but now it's, with Josh and obviously with Stephanie and with all the department heads, if there's certain initiatives that they want to do, we can build those in and kind of give you a better alternative or options of, can you do this or can you do that, or what, if you go down this way, what does that do to this side of the teeter-totter? So yes. So essentially, I don't think there was anything that we saw that was, we have some where we're showing that they're way under the coverage ratios or that their reserve is showing that it's going to go. Yours, is showing that you actually, again, your financial policies are good. You've got, good fund balance, all those things, but that's what we're going to continue to kind of monitor. And as we update this every year, we'll get better at, looking at those things, and specifically if there's areas you want us to target, we'll monitor.
Yeah, I would say the cool thing about this is just integrating the TIF stuff into your overall budget, because of when you close a TIF, it does have an impact on your levy, and seeing what that impact is and if there's opportunities to take advantage of that. Well, sometimes it may be small, sometimes it might be bigger. Kind of seeing how that fits into the overall picture for the municipality, I think is a helpful tool, especially knowing that TID number 4 and 8, are kind of joined at the hip in a sense, but that is going to be when that does have the opportunity to close. What is that impact on the community?
Are you guys hanging around for the budget discussion tonight? Were you asked?
Do you need us to?
Well, I don't know. I just wanted to know if you guys were. I mean, you presented just about everything that I think Stephanie and Josh can take it from here, right? I just wasn't sure. Yeah.
If you need us, I can certainly stay. I know you have a longer drive back than I do, but
Yeah.
it's up to you guys.
I think we're fine. Yeah. Henry, you have another question?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I did miss this detail. You modeled $2 million of borrowing every other year.
Every 2 years.
Every
yeah.
2 years. Mm-hmm. Is that realistic? I mean, I know this is just the first step, but just knowing how costs are, if we shouldn't be thinking about upping that number.
Yeah, it was really $2 million specifically tied to levy supported projects.
Gotcha. Okay. And staff and all feel comfortable with that number?
That was the number that we've most recently used. That is something that I know when Aaron was here, and it would be with Josh and Stephanie, of what is that number?
Right.
Is it more now? Do we need to increase that a little bit? Because we have in the past. Because
Right.
a long couple of years ago it was $1.5 million, and then it went to $2 million.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Adam, Justin, thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Safe drive home,
Nice
you guys.
job.
Thank you.
It's a good document.
Yeah.
I like that.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to some ordinances. A few more ordinances here. We have some first readings. This is ordinance number 13-2025, an ordinance amending Chapter 18A of the City of Waupaca Park and Recreation Areas. And Juliana, you want to just explain what this is? Or is it Laura? Laura, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Sure. So, thanks, Mayor. On page 154, you can see my memo. This is for both ordinances in one memo because those ordinances are linked in our municipal code. So, for many years, the Parks and Rec Department was charging a $10 beer permit fee. But last year we did some research, and through the clerk's office and through the police department, we realized that We don't need to be charging this fee. There's no state requirement for such a permit. So we decided to take it to take it to the Parks and Rec Board, and they approved that we'll increase shelter rental slightly to overtake that fee, and we'll eliminate that fee for future use. Well, upon more research, we realized that this was still in our ordinances, and we want to follow our ordinances. So that's why we're bringing this to City Council tonight. In section 18A03, which you can find on page 156 completed and on page 157 with the strike through, we want to take out the section that talks about the $10 beer fee. And then it also references section 1004-6B, which you can find on page 158 finalized and 159 with the strike through. And that really talks about who gives out permits, and it really needs to reflect more from the clerk's office than from Parks and Rec. And we took language, I worked directly with Barb on this, we took language from the state statute and updated our city ordinance to better reflect the state statute. By taking out this additional fee, we are now corresponding with state law. The police department is fine with us removing it, and we really want to streamline and simplify the shelter rental process for the public. So again, first reading, no action at this time.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? You want to take the next one then, too, 14-2025? Or is that included?
That's actually not me.
That's the
Oh,
second one.
that's the one that I was referencing in this same memo.
So both?
Yep. Yes,
Okay.
thanks, Mayor.
All right. So there's two separate ordinances, but she did explain both of them at the same time. All right. Next up, we have Halloween on Main, temporary expanded premise and open intoxicated request for Friday, October 24th, 2025. This is Juliana.
Yes, this is for the open intoxicant request for the area shown on the map on page 161 of the packet, which aligns with the event on South Main Street and North Main Street. Businesses holding an alcohol license will be able to sell alcoholic beverages that are allowed to be consumed outside of their business premise within that established area. In addition, there are 6 businesses within the downtown that have applied for a premise expansion, also around the Halloween on Main event on the 24th, and the area outside of their businesses is shown on the included maps on the subsequent pages that shows where they would be allowed to provide service outside of their businesses.
Okay, thank you. So Halloween on Main, obviously that's become a big event downtown, and this is just one of the requests that is asked from this organization to make it more enjoyable down there. So we'd just be looking for a motion to allow this to happen. Anybody like to make a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Request.
Motion by Veliker, second by Martin, that we approve the Halloween on Main temporary expanded premises and open intoxicant requests for Friday, October 24th, 2025. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Next up is ordinance number 05-2025. This is an ordinance to amend the City of Waupaca Year 2030 Comprehensive Plan. Back to you, Juliana.
This was referenced during the public hearing held earlier this evening and relates to 3 separate projects. The first parcel on 660 Hillcrest Drive relates to a rezone application for 702 West Fulton Street, an adjacent parcel for an auto zone development on that property. The site plan for that project has been approved, contingent on this amendment and the approval of the zoning change, which we will discuss in a few minutes. The next project is related to the parcels at 407 School Street and 415 School Street, for the rec center expansion. This will allow for those two parcels to be merged into a single parcel via a certified survey map, which has already been approved by my office. And finally, the three no address assigned parcels listed in the ordinance are for the properties south of US Highway 10 and east of County Highway A, related to the recommendation of the feasibility study from New Day Planning.
Okay, anybody have any questions? Again, first reading. Hearing none, we'll go right to the next ordinance, 06-2025. This is an ordinance amending section 17.102 zoning district map as allowed under 17.70. And it's dealing, I'll let you finish that, Juliana.
Sure. This is related to a project to rezone to the Public Facility and Utility Lands District for the properties at 407 School Street and 415 School Street, to align those properties with the same zoning, again, to allow for the certified survey map to be registered that will merge these two parcels for the rec center property.
Okay, again, first reading, any questions? Next one is ordinance, where am I? 7 or 8, 9? Sorry,
7.
guys. What's that?
7.
7, okay. Ordinance number 07-2025, an ordinance amending 17.102 zoning district map as allowed under 17.70. Juliana?
Yes, this is related to the property at 811 Harding Street, the county courthouse, which currently has 3 types of zoning on that property. This will align the entire property under the Public Facility and Utility Lands District, which is in relation to the proposed project to renovate that property.
Okay, any questions there? Next up is ordinance number 09-2025. This is an ordinance amending 17.102 zoning district map as allowed for under 17.70, has to do with West Fulton Street.
This relates to the AutoZone development previously referenced. This allows for the 2 properties to be zoned appropriately within the B3 General Commercial District, which aligns with the proposed use for a retail establishment of under 10,000 square feet on that property.
Okay. Any questions there? Again, this is another first reading. So we'll see this at the next meeting. Last one here is for ordinance is ordinance number 10-2025. This is an ordinance amending 17.102 zoning district map as allowed for under 17.7. This has to do with our River North projects.
Yes, this is rezoning each of the lots within the single-family subdivision from the R3 multifamily residential district to the R1 single-family residential district, which is a requirement of the subdivision plat that was approved previously by the city.
All right, yeah, and this one is just really a cleanup. First reading, so we'll see this one at the next meeting. Conditional use permit for the Waupaca Community Arts Board Incorporated at 515 School Street. Back to you again, Juliana.
Yes, this property is within the B1 Neighborhood Business District and is for the proposed use of institutions of an educational, philanthropic, or elementary nature, which is a conditional use within that zoning district. This aligns with the future land use map for that property. This was recommended by the Plan Commission to the Council for approval.
Okay. So this one we do need to act on. It's a conditional use permit. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody like to make a motion to approve this conditional use permit?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Dykstra, that we approve the conditional use permit for Waupaca Community Arts Board Incorporated at 515 School Street. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Again, Against, say no. Motion carried. Thank you, Juliana. I think Justin was getting jealous that you were on screen all those times.
Yes.
Next up is an easement request at the Waupaca Municipal Airport. Justin.
Thanks, Mayor. It's not talking about trucks, but easements instead. So, starting on 233 of the packet, this is actually two different easements on the airport property. So, WPS for electric and We Energies for gas. Behind the memo is information on the easement documents and also the exhibits showing where these utilities will go in the future. So, on 236 is the exhibit for the gas main. It is on the airport property. Typically, when utilities are installed in the right-of-way, we just handle that with a permit process. This being on actual property has to come to council for approval. The electric easement exhibit is shown on 241, so going between the two rows of the hangars. So we're getting a lot of interest with hangars. There's one going up right now. There's a few more in the hopper, from what I understand, talking with Matt out at the airport. So we're laying this out, and we're looking at making sure we have enough room to accommodate connection for these easements, as well as our own sewer and water out there. So been in communication with these two companies on making sure we have enough room for everyone. So this is just extending out and getting gas and electric to the one that's being built now, and while keeping in mind future plans for more extensions. So looking for approval of both of these as detailed at the bottom of my memo on 233.
Okay. So Justin is recommending that we approve of the easement request to the airport.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion by Veliker.
Second.
Second by Hagan, that we approve of the easement request for Waupaca Municipal Airport. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. License report number 1737, that's on page 245 of your packet. There are 3 names on there for bartenders or operators license. Just need a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Motion by Peterson,
Second.
second by Halverson, that we approve license report number 1737. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. All right, just one item for sure. Don't forget, council members, we're gonna take a short break after this council meeting, but then, we have a committee of the whole meeting, so make sure you don't go anywhere tonight. Talking to Josh and Stephanie, so, regular city council meeting on the 7th, October 7th, that's our first Tuesday, and then we'll have a budget meeting on the 14th, okay, and then we'll have a regular city council meeting on the 21st, so first 3 Tuesdays of the month that we'll have meetings. Anybody else have anything for the good of council meeting tonight? You're up, Paul.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Hagan, second by Olson, that we adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
He is
Against, say
omnipresent.
no. Motion carried. We're adjourned at 7:08. Dimitri Martin, Corey Nag, Eric Olson, Dave Peterson, Scott Perchatsky, and Henry Veliker. I think Paul Hagan is still online.
I
So
am.
we do have a quorum. We do have 2 members that are unable to attend tonight. Paul Mayo and Corey Nagel are not here tonight. It's 7:18 PM when we start this meeting. It's just a one-line, really, agenda, but I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Martin, that we approve the agenda as printed. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried.
Here we
Stephanie's
go.
on.
Oh, boy.
All right. This is the draft budget overview for the utility funds, which is water, sewer, Waupaca Online, debt service, TID, and an overview. We're going to touch a little bit on the transit as well, which is not included in the packet. It's just going to be a verbal discussion this time. The overview is that we have worked very closely with R.W. Baird and staff to develop the 2026 draft budgets for the utilities, debt service, and TIDS. As a reminder, no action can be taken during the committee of the whole meetings. The purpose of this meeting is to provide City Council with information that assists with decision-making for the final adoption of the budget in late November. We are going to start first with the water utility highlights. Revenue trends for water sales show steady growth of 1.33 million in 2023 up to 1.57 million in 2025. This is due to steady development of mostly residential in the Waupaca area along with recent rate increases. Expenditure patterns show that capital outlay remains steady with major improvements of new water main on Smith Street and wells in 2 and 4 rehabilitation. The maintenance of services and hydrants both increased significantly, indicating a focus on distribution reliability. The meter expenses jump 32%, which are tied to upgrades and increases that focused on no lead fixtures. Meter reading expenses dropped significantly, indicating increased efficiency using ion water beacon software. The total expenditures rise modestly, up 1.65%, while net income remains strong due to high revenue. The fringe benefits drop 18.6%, potentially from staffing changes. We have one less staff member in our water department compared to recent years. The net position continues to grow steadily year over year, indicating healthy financial footing. Jumping to our sewer utility highlights. The customer service revenue remains flat. Steady development and recent rate increases show good revenues in the residential and commercial customers. Revenues from industrial customers have dropped about 17%. Total revenue projected is 4.86 million from 2026 for 2026, up from 3.53 million in 2025. The expense highlights are sewer capital outlay explodes, signaling major infrastructure investment for the Bowlby lift station project. The sludge disposal increases 54%. Maintenance of collection system jumps 71%, reinforcing our focus to maintain existing infrastructure. Accounting and collection drops 11%, indicating cost-saving measures from automation and shared billing. Total expenses rise 49%, outpacing revenue growth. However, that is not the full story. The emergent SCADA issue makes a big impact on the overall budget and fund balance. The net position still grows year over year, indicating the 2026 dip will be a one-year situation. Major projects on the horizon are the Bowlby lift station replacement, West Fulton Street reconstruction, well rehabilitation program, lead and galvanized service lines, along with replacement of other utility mains. Means we have prioritized replacing end-of-life infrastructure. These projects will solve all of our issues. Maintenance budgets will be utilized to fully extend the life of infrastructure and mitigate large capital expenses as much as possible. Do you want me to stop in between any of these for questions?
You can look up and see if anybody has their hand up, but yeah, no, you can keep going. Yeah, go ahead, Dimitri.
What is SCADA?
Supervisory control and data acquisition. So it's an automated software system in our utilities that monitors both water and sewer, and if there's issues, it calls out an alarm, and the staff responds to it.
Go ahead.
Why do you think the industrial revenues dropped 17%? And is that going to be an ongoing trend?
We lost Delicious last year, I believe, so they were our third largest industry. So that was a big hit right there. The other two, Foundry and Gusmer's, are constantly trying to make improvements so they can improve their systems and reduce their expenses.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like, you want them to be better with their use of their water, but then it's less revenue for us too, so it kind of works both ways there.
Do you think the decrease in revenue is associated with an equal decrease in expenses? Which is to say, how do I say that a different way?
There will be some
Not to ask
correlation,
if
Colin.
there-
I think I know what you're getting at, because when we pump water, push water, that uses energy, and then that is more maintenance on those things, the pumps and motors. So there should be some correlation there.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yep.
Anybody else? All right, keep going, Steph.
Okay. We're going to talk about Waupaca Online highlights next. The service revenues were $316,500 in 2024 and are projected at $292,700 for 2026, reflecting a modest step down after several years of steady growth. Seeing and continue to expect customer decline due to new competitive internet projects. We expect to bottom out at some point as competition introductory rates end. Expect to see customers to return, and staff will evaluate other options to regain some of that customer loss. Total revenues are expected to reach $295,700 in 2026, down from $335,200 in 2024. Sounded a little redundant there. The operating expenses remain steady at approximately $291,000, covering operations, administration, and supplies. 2025 brought a lot of equipment upgrades. The IT department Waupaca Online upgraded several key backhauls to allow more capacity. They added some redundant links and performed numerous Wi-Fi 6 upgrades. They're expecting less equipment costs in 2026. The expense levels show strong consistency year to year, ensuring stable service delivery without significant increases. Their net income is projected at $4,700 for 2026, keeping the utility self-supporting. The fund continues to demonstrate financial sustainability, with revenues consistently covering expenditures. And I don't think Josh is out here, but if anybody has any questions, we can certainly pull him out. Yeah?
Steph, is there a fund balance in this utility then?
Yeah.
And what is it?
I actually brought my handy dandy audit down here, just in case you would ask that question. It's probably going to be easier if I just pull it up on my worksheet here. Bear with me for a second. The current fund balance as of 2024 is $383,738. And that did grow from the ending fund balance in 23. That was $324,000. So
he doesn't have any big projects, capital projects.
no,
Okay.
just the
Coming.
no, not for Waupaca Online. No.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions? You know, if you've been out in the townships, you've seen that Spectrum is running wire where they weren't running wire before. So, I mean, that's what they're talking about. There will be some competition, obviously, from a wired internet. So we'll have to keep a good eye on that. I mean, those are, Waupaca Online is really good for where people can't get anything else, basically. And they, you know, though it's an online service for us. So,
And I can tell you that Josh has budgeted knowing that this is going to be an impact, but
yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do those numbers include the payments that we're gonna have to be making now to Brooks Farms that we just approved at our last meeting, right?
We did.
Yeah, there's some payment that we're gonna have there for the use of his silo, right?
I don't believe so.
The numbers don't?
No, I wouldn't believe so. I don't know those numbers, so I did not add them into the budget.
Because it seems like we're really tight if we're only 4,700 ahead.
Factored in there.
Okay, it is factored in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Josh.
No, there he is.
Yeah.
I just have to answer wrong, and then he'll come out. So.
Right.
All right.
That's the wizard. He's behind the curtain. All right, any other questions on online? It's going pretty fast here, actually, so. All right, Steph.
All right, next is debt service fund highlights. Our debt service levy is projected to increase by approximately 1.75% annually, aligned with our overall community growth and development. This approach helps keep city property taxes low, balancing investment needs with taxpayer stability. Debt service fund balance remains healthy, which provides flexibility to absorb fluctuations and manage the levy effectively. As Justin and Adam had talked earlier, we have that strong bond rating of AA-, which ensures favorable borrowing conditions, lowering long-term interest costs and capital projects. Moving on to our capital planning, in 2024, the city completed the 2-year borrowing plan covering 25 and 26 capital projects, streamlining project financing. A 5-year forecast and recap for these projects will be presented at our upcoming draft budget workshop. And as they mentioned earlier as well, we will be going out to borrow in 2026. So to your question earlier, Henry, if we have to look at increasing that amount, we will be doing that next year during the capital improvement planning process. Any questions on the debt service? All right. Moving on to the tax increment districts. They went over this pretty high level, and I know we've gone through this multiple times as well, so I'll kind of do the same. We currently have 5 active TIDs. TID 4, which is Western Avenue, is a self-supporting and serves as a donor to the other TIDs. TID 8 is East Gateway. It's not self-supporting and working on repaying the utility and debt service fund advances. TID 10 is Badger Street. The redevelopment focus is expected to close in 2028. TID 11 is River North, and it has a lot of strong growth from new housing development. TID 12 is Churchill Street. There's minimal activity and positioned for future redevelopment. Together, these TIDs generated over $92 million in incremental value, representing 13.19% in the city's tax base. As they mentioned earlier, the state cap is 12%, so that means for us right now, there's no new TIDs that can be created or amended. However, it sounds like Adam has some other options for us if we need to look at any new developments or adding any TIDs. Overall, the city of Waupaca maintains a balanced and forward-looking approach to the financial management. The debt service fund ensures stability in long-term debt repayment. The utility funds provide reliable services while supporting capital investments, and the TIDs continue to drive redevelopment and tax-based growth. Together, these elements demonstrate the city's commitment to fiscal responsibility and strategic community development. Attached are all of the worksheets for water, utility, sewer, Waupaca Online that we kind of went through. I hope you all had a chance to look through them. Debt service fund worksheet is the same that was in the financial management plan that was presented earlier by Baird, as well as the TID workshop information. All of this is, we presented this at the Joint Review Board earlier this year. So, and Adam was lucky, or I should say, I was lucky enough to have Adam come and help with that presentation as well. So all of this information is in here for fun reading material tonight to put you to sleep. So that's really sums it up. Any questions?
Anybody? Any specific questions? So your utility board has had a shot at this?
Yes. Yeah.
And they're okay with it? I'm assuming they were,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was exactly what he presented, what she.
It is exactly, actually.
Did
We understood it, I guess, let's put it that way.
you know, I'll give you a question to utility if you want one.
Sure.
Justin, the phrase you used, when you're talking about maintenances of services and hydrants, both increased significantly, indicating a focus on distribution reliability. Is that to say that our distribution network is old? Is that what you're trying to say there?
So
It's experience.
Maybe I'll ask it a different way.
Right.
What percentage of our distribution network is over its projected lifetime?
I don't know that exact number, but
I should have
every
asked you
time
before.
we're looking at our projects from year to year, and we're talking about road projects, we have to make sure the mains underneath are going to survive another 10, 15 years, and very rarely does that happen. So that's why we've been increasing our replacements. It's an age, it's materials, it's our water loss, so we have leaks we hunt down and find. So it's a combination of all those factors. But I can find that if that's a number that's important to you, I can.
The number isn't so important as the idea is if we're making it smaller or bigger, which is to say, is the amount of are we putting enough money into our existing infrastructure to maintain it and improve it, such that there aren't bigger expenses coming in the future?
I think we are, yes. And the amount of mains that we're putting in is slowly increasing because the city is expanding. We're gaining residential. We're putting new roads in. So we need to keep track of that, and that is part of the reason of some of the rate increases to stay in front of that.
Okay.
Yep.
I got a question. What's the life expectancy of the replacements?
It depends on the material, but typically you give it like a 75-year lifespan. Cast iron is less than that. Ductile iron and PVC can be a little longer than that. But once it kind of reaches, say, that end of life use of like 50 to 75 years, you feel like you got your money's worth out of it, and that alone is enough to replace it. We still have mains that are well over that, or at that age and well over. We just can't get to them quite yet. So it's part of the evaluation. So, and I would say to Collins, piggybacking back to Collins' comment, have we built enough? A lot of it goes back to the general fund because that is where the pigeon-toling is because of, to replace roads also takes a lot of money. And so we have to try and marry these projects together, be as efficient as we can.
Okay. Anybody else? Henry, go ahead.
I have-
Oh, Eric, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Kind of related to with that too is well capacities. I don't think I've heard since I've been here the status of the wells and if there's something in the future that we're going to have to look at adding.
We had a well capacity study done, I believe it was 2019. I talked to the utility board about that recently. What we have is a double firm capacity. So it's a study went back, what it explored was our typical usage, pumpage, and basically looked at our system and if we could provide the entire city with potable water, plus during a emergency event such as a fire flow, with our 2 largest wells offline? And the answer is yes, we have that capacity. So if we lost our 2 largest wells unexpectedly, we could run for surely for at least a year. So there, at one time, the city was planning on drilling a new well, like very early stages. This also kind of piggybacks on the industrial users with their water usage. With a lot of the improvements they've made, like our capacity stayed up here while the usage went down. So we're in a very good state as far as the ability to pump and treat and provide water for both drinking and for the fire flows, the fire events.
Justin, but I think that well was planned for over near Swan Park, right?
That's correct.
So all that work is in the can, then 20 years, if we need it, we can use it. It's not, or you think because of our growth and how we're growing?
That initial planning and data is over 20 years old, so if you would trust 40-year-old data, then we could use it.
Okay.
I have a question, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Stephanie, to what degree has the city been impacted by higher borrowing rates of the recent couple years?
On the debt service? Is that what you're asking?
No, just in general for our general borrowing, has that had a lot of impact on us?
No, it hasn't. So when Baird was here earlier, they kind of mentioned that our rates are really well. Obviously, I just mentioned that, but and I can't remember the term that they used, but we're still within that healthy limit of borrow to what our reserves are. So our current policy states that if we're 20 to 25%, and ours is showing about 45% right now. So we have a really healthy balance to support our borrows.
I was not asking that. I was asking, but the actual interest rate.
Oh, the interest rate itself? Yeah, because we have that AA- rating, we have seen a very good interest rate. I think when Baird was here earlier in the year, this year, they had projected, I think it was 4.5%, and we ended up getting 3.85% for our borrow. So it has definitely helped in a lot of ways. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, kind of. But thank you. That's fine.
Okay, any other comments? Again, as Stephanie said at the beginning, this is just a committee of the whole meeting. It's a workshop, so you'll have the opportunity to, you have something else, Henry?
Well, go ahead and finish, Mayor. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, we're not voting on this tonight.
No.
We'll be looking at this in the future.
Yeah, this is probably more for the council members. I think staff's looking at our charge-offs to the TIFs and the utilities, and I know that can be a sticking point with our auditors. But it seems if our recent revenue isn't meeting revenue that we had like in 2021 or 22, then maybe we got to reevaluate that. I think staff's looking at that, but council, I don't know. I don't know what those percentages are, but that can always be sticky. But there might be a little bit of more money that could help us meet our budgets if we can pass muster with the auditor.
Well, I mean, obviously with TIF 11 and 12 opening now, there's a lot more staff participation in that too. So it does justify it. And they are looking at that. So they'll have a recommendation.
Thank you.
When we come forward on that. Colin, go ahead.
Regarding TIF number 4, it looks like about this, I don't know how to even describe it. The amount of revenues into the TIF is, last year was, year to date is 600,000. We're projecting 800,000. Keeps going up, 878 and 1,029,029 over the next 2. So that money, as I understand it, flows to TID 8 to support their payments back of the water to utility fund. and we're going to have that paid off in 2 years, I understand from reading this. What do we do with, what does that revenue, so it's a two-part question. Once we pay that off, the $1 million that comes into TID 4 every year, what's our plans for that? And do you think that like we're not here in a vacuum where the city along, and that this money, if you close the TIF, it goes basically a third, as I understand it, city, school, county. And we're in a position right now, as far as, not for us, but the school sounds like they're in dire straits. So if we can close this sooner than later, it will help the school. And in my opinion, that's a good thing for our community. But is there some reason to keep this money coming into the city? I guess that's a long-term question.
For clarification, are you speaking post 2034, or are you talking
No,
about?
I'm talking about 28. Like you're projecting to pay off what I understand as the water utility fund, and maybe I don't understand it all over the next 2 years.
There is more than just the water utility. The water utility is the only required debt that we're required to pay back, but the sewer fund advanced quite a bit of money for the sewer that happened in TIF 8, plus the general fund, which is our general taxpayer monies, the city's taxpayer monies, have a debt out there too. We can get those numbers for you.
Yeah, I think that'd be important.
It's in there.
Please.
So
Yeah.
if you look on, Colin, if you look
Yeah.
on TIF 8, sorry, the worksheet on TIF 8, it actually shows that there's transfers to pay the sewer utility back until 2034.
Mm-hmm.
And then below that, there's transfer to pay off debt service in there. There's transfer to pay off the water fund. And we're able to do that with the transfer or the donor TID from TID 4.
So, yeah, worst case scenario, it will be 2023, but there is growth in both TID 4 and TID 8, so it could be sooner.
Can TID 8 support it itself? Have we tried to
No.
ask that question? No, I
Correct.
don't believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can't, and I guess we would have to look at it if you chose if the council chose afterwards not to pay back the sewer in the general fund, when could it be self-sufficient? But I'm not sure that makes sense. But we could, if that's what you're asking, we could have that discussion.
I'm just trying to find a way to help our school district through,
Well,
if
again,
we can.
The city took all the risk. We need to make sure that we get our money paid back first,
Yeah.
you know? So I get your point. We want to get everything back on the
We-
tax roll.
I don't
we're
think
school
we have a
district
city without
taxpayers, and
a
we're
strong
county
school.
taxpayers too, so we get it.
And then the suggestion today of using, one of my biggest fears would be using this money to try, like at the end of TID 4, taking $1 million and trying to give grants for housing as opposed to supporting our schools would be a real struggle for me to get behind. So that suggested that Nikki made was, I don't know, I didn't like that idea at all.
Well, again, you're looking at, what are we in 2025? So we're looking at 9 years down the road here.
Okay.
So,
All right, good enough.
yeah.
So
Good that you're giving us your political opinion up front, though.
that's not so much political as, where is the city taxpayer money to support somebody's improvements on their home, or is it to support maybe Justin's sewer lines, or?
That would be political, Colin.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, any other questions or comments? Anybody else? I think the only thing we have left then is the transit,
Transit
which should
update.
be, we might have some discussion, but it should be fairly quick. We have some actually really good news. I think, right?
Yeah, so I'll just do a briefing here. We continue to work closely with the county through the RFP process. There was a little minor hiccup, but we're not concerned about it affecting anything. We are going to be back in the RFP process here very quickly. And actually, Ryan Brown with the county, who is heading this project, is here to help assist with any questions that may be had. But I think that this is going to be a really, really cool effort and a collaboration for the community as a whole and the county as a whole. So we're pretty excited about it. We enjoy working with the county and the local municipalities on this project. So any questions? I'm sure there are, but.
Yeah, Henry, go ahead.
I wonder if anybody thought I'd have a question. You know, I've actually come around on this thing a little bit. You know, transit, probably should reside with the county. We just got to make sure that we carve out and we have a good service plan. And I know you guys are working hard on it. But this innovation grant, can the county qualify for that integration grant if we're consolidating and we're bringing transit and doing all that? Is that a revenue thing we should be looking at and being aggressive about? At the county level, not our level.
Yeah, Ryan, just introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, sure. Ryan Brown, Planning and Zoning Director, Waupaca County. Help me understand your question.
Well, I asked the
you
question.
talking about the innovation grant?
Yeah, the state,
The workforce innovation grant?
Yeah,
Yes.
because we're kind of consolidating transit. On the face of it, it seems like it could, fit in the box.
So the county applied for and received a workforce innovation grant, and the design behind that was solely to help people get to work. And so that was a 3-year grant to which we are at the end of that cycle. It actually ended at the end of June. And so we asked the state for an extension, and they did grant us a 3-month extension. And so that takes us to the end of September. And so what we're looking for right now is to bring somebody on board and under contract to provide that transit service from that point beyond. And so what we're doing, though, is that we're expanding it beyond workforce transportation, and we're creating it to be a public transportation system. So it's still going to be a coordinated shared ride taxi service. So the idea being that there will have that on-demand aspect to it. So if you use we have an app that's been developed as part of this where you say you need a ride and it automatically gives all the different technology, all the different transit systems that are in that area for you to have to get a ride essentially. But it's a coordinated shared ride. So the idea being is that there's a 15-minute lag time built in terms of when you should expect someone to actually be able to pick you up. That's by design. The point of that is to allow for the system to determine the best possible course of action in terms of how to pick that person up and then take them back, and then head back. And so the idea being is that we can group in as many people as we possibly can to make the system far more efficient. And so what we're doing, though, as part of the RFP process, as it relates to the city of Waupaca, is that we're requiring all these transit service providers to show that they have the capacity to take over all the system or all the ridership that is currently being used in the city of Waupaca right now. And so the idea is that we're going to have routes between the city of Waupaca and New London with stop-offs in Waupaca. Phase 2 of the project is going to include the city of Clintonville with stop-offs in Manawa. And then, of course, the city of Waupaca.
Well, my question, Ryan, was about this pot of money that state revenue has about innovation, not workforce innovation, but just general innovation grants to consolidate services. I'm just wondering if this fits the possibility of maybe the county getting some money, which helps the whole system. And then to your point, 15 minutes seems a reasonable wait time. So if that can be delivered within the city of Waupaca and we're not seeing diminished service, I think that would be awesome.
Now, I don't know if the innovation grant is still something that's still available and would be something that we'd be able to leverage going forward. But we are looking for 5311 funding from the DOT, and that is the rural transportation fund that they have set up. Now, the interesting part about that is that it does not cover the full cost of the system. And so that's what we're looking at, is trying to figure out how we're going to pay for the rest of it, because as you all know, public transportation is incredibly expensive. And so part of the RFP process is us requiring them to show how they're going to come up with that balance on that. So we are requiring marketing, and we're also requiring there to have relationships with our businesses and our local hospitals, ThedaCare, We already have been in contact with them in terms of helping people get home if they have an appointment or they need to get to the hospital, but not necessarily, obviously, ambulance. But
So if you remember back when we had the discussion about the transit, where we were reducing the transit hours and that we were not going to continue the contract with Brown Cap, and we were going to go out to RFP, is what was told to staff by me or told the council by staff and myself, that really isn't true anymore, because the county is actually the one that is going out for RFP on those 5311 monies. So it doesn't make, we both can't go out for funding. And so as long as we can make this work, and it sounds like it can, it seems like our best option.
So you have multiple proposals?
yes,
And these proposals are coming from Wisconsin companies, regional companies, countrywide companies?
all the above.
Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
We should expect that we're going to need to pay more than $10,000 from the levy to fund something, whatever that looks like. So that was my point on the TIF charge-offs. If we can find a little bit of money, I don't know what that number is, but it's not going to be 10,000.
We don't.
You know?
It could be zero, Henry. We're not there yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
We're not there with the
Well,
discussion with the county. I mean, obviously, when you have municipalities working with the county, it has to be fair to the county and it has to be fair to the cities. And so
Sure.
that's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But we appreciate your comments on trying to find places for
well,
money if
I
we need it.
appreciate all the work the staff's doing. I know
Yeah.
transit can be complicated, and appreciate the county's willingness to, lead and do all that. But, cautiously optimistic. We'll leave it at that.
We are overly optimistic.
You bring, we'll have that other discussion later,
What's that? Yeah, yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's options, better than not having any options.
Right.
So I appreciate all the efforts, guys, to try to find
yeah, the stars kind of aligned, because the county
Amazing.
was looking at doing this anyways, and they were actually hoping that they could start October 1st, but it
Yes.
doesn't look like that's gonna be.
No, that doesn't appear as that's going to be an option for us. But in working with the DOT, it does appear that November is going to be with the new target date for when we're going to be under contract.
And we're still under contract with Brown Cap till the end of the year, so we should not have a gap at all in service to the city.
Right.
And it sounds like the DOT transit staff have been pretty easy to, I don't want to say easy, but very workable. I mean, this is sort of a new model, isn't it, that they're seeing?
I would say that it's not, the model that we're using is very common nationwide. I don't know that it's very common here in Wisconsin.
Gotcha.
And so it has been a bit of, working with the DOT on that. The model that we're using, that I guess that could be slightly different, is that we're requiring technology. And we're not just requiring basic technology, we're requiring very highly functioning technology. What we have come to learn is that is essentially the recipe to success for this. Is in order for a transit system to be solvent going forward, it requires highly efficient technology. It's referred to as deadhead miles. Anytime that car is driving without a passenger in it, that is costing money. And that's wasted money. And so the least amount of time that you could possibly have that car having without someone paying to be there that's the recipe for success. And we are also including other potential revenue streams, and that it's more of an optional thing down the road in terms of there's package delivery, prescription drugs, things along those lines. There's other potentials, but we're going to walk before we run on this. We want to make sure that we get a very solid foundation before we enter into those types of things.
All right, any other questions? Again, I think we should all feel excited where it's going here, so. We went from horse and buggy, which is what we have right now, system, to a lot stronger technology type system. So, should be great.
Go after that innovation. Damn it.
Henry's. Forget. Any other things for tonight, Steph? You good?
Yep, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, really appreciate you hanging around tonight. Anybody else have anything for the good of the meeting? Paul, you still on?
Absolutely. I would love to move to adjourn.
Motion by Hagan, second by Olson that we adjourn. Brewers are up 5-0, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Motion carried. Have a great night, everybody. Drive safe.